Time for another machinery rehab and refurb. This is a Delta-Rockwell 31710 disc and belt sander. It's missing a lot of parts, but we're going to take it through the paces, take stock of it, and see if we can find all the parts, find replacement parts, get it all up and running again, as good as new. So stay tuned. As you can see here, it did come with lots of odds and ends. Some of them are broken, some of them aren't. But based off what we're seeing here, here's the table for the disc sander. Here's the table for the belt sander. Here's the upper drum. And some other parts that seem to be broken. I don't know if these will be salvaged, but at least gives me an idea of what I'm looking for. Some handles and so forth. And then here's the dust chute that goes down from the disc sander into the cabinet. So we'll start disassembling and go from there. One horse, 3-phase, frame 56Y. Okay, so here's the electrical components. We've got a 1-horse, 3-phase motor, RPMs 3450, frame size 56Y. Had a Cutler hammer momentary contact switch. I may repurpose this for another machine, classic switch here. And then an Allen Bradley magnetic starter to go with this momentary contact switch. So as I'm restoring this, refurbing it, getting the parts I need, then I'll decide what I want to do with the motor setup. If I want to go a single phase route, or if we'll do 3-phase with VFD or something like that. I just have to figure out as we get there how much money I've got in the machine and so forth. But here's the electrical components. Coming along all right. Well, this Delta disc belt sander combo machine is coming along pretty well. It's been a bit of a challenge to source some of the parts, but I'll do a little rundown here to show you how that's going. I've got everything repainted and so forth, and I'm going to do a motor swap from 3-phase to single phase and then put a switch on. One of the first things I did, a pretty easy thing, was these threaded studs that thread into 2 different locations, one here, and one here, and then one on this side of the disc sander. I was missing some of those, and so these are 7/16 14. And so what I did is I just got some 7/16 14 bolts that were the right length. With an angle grinder, I cut off the head of the bolt, and then with a nice old set of taps and dies and a little bit of oil, I was able to hand thread those in a vise with that little kit. So I ended up with a pretty good match. Not too bad, all things considered. They'll work fine. They're not perfect. I know there's more precise ways and accurate ways, quicker ways to thread and tap things, but this is the tools I've got and so forth, and was able to get it done. So those were done. Another one of the challenges on these machines are these little trunnion pieces that frequently break. And you can see here, this one here is broken. And these go right on this spot here, and they work to hold the table in place, and they've got an angle part to tilt the table up and down. Thankfully on eBay there is a seller, good old paid to Bob Tube, who fabricates these. So I've got 2 new trunnions here for the disc sander table, so that was good. And then also I had to get a tracking knob that goes here. This sometimes can be hard to find. And then I'm still working on getting a few of the guards. One down here that's got a port, and then one up here as well. But it's coming together pretty well.
and looking forward to finishing this thing off. One other thing I will show you, there's also an eBay seller who fabricates new pieces here that connect to the belt sander, and then this part here is where the table goes for the belt sander. So I was able to find one of those. So we'll work on reassembly here today. We'll get this thing running. Alright, so we're coming along, just a little update here. I cleaned up these knobs on the wire wheel and the buffing wheel, got them all shining up nice. These threaded rods that I fabricated, I've got installed here. And then now I'm going to work on getting the disc sanding table. Got this all cleaned up, get that all installed here. So these are these trunnions that I was talking about that are fabricated new, because these are a very common replacement part. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start those on here, and then we're going to put the table into place. And there you have it. The table locks in place. Nice. And then just a slight loosening, and you can change the angle very easily. Very nice. Okay, so we're making progress. We got that installed. We got this table installed. And this one moves with this handle here. Changes the angle. We're getting there. Okay, so we're making pretty good progress on this little guy. So I've got the tables mounted. Talked about those trunnions before. This table's all mounted as well. All the knobs and such. And I'm just going to show one little thing here in one of my stashes of extra parts. I've got a lot of these switch plate covers because I'm going to mount more than just like a light switch on this, and so this covers up the prior hole where the switch was, which you can see right there. So we're going to mount a more robust switch over on this side, because also I think it's not the best location there, because it's focused mostly on the disc sander, and then the belt sander's over here, whereas if we put it here, then you really sort of have better access to both from the switch, whether if it's all the way over here, if you're working over here, the switch is all the way over here. So I think a better location is going to be on this side. So that's going to be the next step. Coming along fine. Okay, so there's already a hole here, so I think I'm going to try to cover that up with this Allen Bradley starter that I'm mounting here. And so this Allen Bradley needs a lot of work, really messy. These are classic old manual starters. Got quite a few of them from different machines, and so we'll clean this up, and then it'll be a nice complement to this sander that's coming along. Okay, we're nearing the finish line here, and so this upper drum will fit right into this area here. But there's a large keyway, and there's supposed to be a key here and here. That's what the manual calls it. And so those are missing. I do have a supply of rolled pins, and those will fit in these holes. I've got a variety of sizes, so that'll take care of the rolled pins. And I had some just leftover angle brackets or steel stock from something, and so I've cut them to about the right length. And now I'm going to just have to get them to the right width, and I'm going to just grind away at them for a while, or maybe file away at them, we'll see. And then those will be these spots here to fit into the keyway so that this upper drum fits in there properly. So that's really the last big step, and then the mechanical parts will be in order. Alright, so these keys, I used an angle grinder to cut to rough width, and then the grinder to try to straighten them out. So let's do a little test fit here and see how they're doing. That's good. That has a little play, but for the purpose of this application, I think that'll be fine. That fits. And we'll check this one. Oh, that one's good. It's nice and tight. Very nice. Okay, so those are good. Just need to expand this hole a little bit in here for the rolled pin, and they'll be functional. Alright, so here's my little fix. Isn't the prettiest, but for something of this nature where these keys just need to fit in the keyway, there's nothing super precise about it, I think this will work. So let's see if we can fit it in here. One side, other side. Down in there, and then we'll try the tracking knob and see if this moves up like it should. It does. Seems pretty sturdy in there. I think we got it. All right, good deal. And then I've got the guard and this threaded stud that we worked on earlier with the other ones. And so I'll just clean up this upper guard and this knob. We're getting there. All right.
Attaching the dust chute to the disc portion of this sander was definitely a challenge, so I disassembled a little bit further. I disassembled the stand from the top portion with 4 simple bolts and propped up on workbenches here, and then was able to install everything much more easily.
Alright, so the new motor came in for this Delta combination sander. I got a Dayton 1 horsepower TEFC enclosed, totally enclosed fan cooled motor. It's dual voltage. I'm going to wire for 220 to reduce the amp load, and it's also got a reset button as well, so it's got overload protection on the motor. So this is a pretty sweet deal from Zorro.com. Less than $200 for this. Pretty happy. And so we'll get the install going.
Well, here we are, almost at the finish line of this Delta-Rockwell combo sander. Finally got the motor all installed. Wired up to this nice old Allen Bradley starter, and fired up well once it was all wired up. It did take a little bit of finagling to get it to fit properly in there with the capacitor and the junction box, but all in all, not too bad. So then I got this all cleaned up with the motor spinning, got that all nice, smooth and so forth, ready for a new sanding disc. And then I put a belt on this with the upper drum assembly, and you may remember that I had sort of fabricated here in my shop just some pieces of from sort of flat bar stock, the keys to go in the keyway in this casting here that this sort of slides in, and they were okay, but the tolerances I wasn't quite completely satisfied with. I do not have machining tools in my shop, so they were not up to the tolerances they would have been if they were done in a machine shop. So good old Paid to Bob came through yet again on eBay with the pin and the 2 keys. He has these machined to great tolerances, and so I'm going to install those instead. And that'll be pretty easy. There's a hole in the casting here, and we'll just line them up and use a pin punch to get everything in properly. Well, here she is, all done. Finally got all the parts in. These dust shrouds and ports. Put the sanding belt on and a disc as well. As far as starters go, I did an old Allen Bradley starter, cleaned this one up real nice, got it looking good. And so the key here is when you turn it on, actually before you turn it on, to roll this a little bit and make sure it's tracking okay. And then when you turn it on, keep a close eye and be ready to turn these knobs to get this to track right. Well, here she is, finally done on this Delta-Rockwell combination sander. This was indeed a challenge, tracking down some of these parts, but thankfully through OWWM and good old Paid to Bob on eBay, I was able to put everything together and get everything working properly. So I'm just going to point out a few things with this to help you with yours perhaps. Very common things that break here are these trunnion clamps for the sander table. Thankfully Bob on eBay fabricates those, was able to get those. This is a very common part that breaks as well, and thankfully there's a seller on eBay that fabricates new ones of those. And then many times these tracking knobs are missing or the threads are worn. I was able to track one of those down, and then almost all the time these dust shrouds and guards are missing, and somebody at OWWM hooked me up with those. And then there were all sorts of little knobs and hardware and so forth to either fabricate or use from some of my stash of old Delta parts that I just sort of saved through the years. So I'll just do a few close-up shots so you can see how everything came out.
I was really happy with how this Allen Bradley starter came out. I'll add some pictures, original pictures into this video so you can see what it looked like when I started. But very pleased with how that came out, and then I did the edges of the table with black as well to sort of tie all that together. I'll show you the motor here as well and explain a little bit about the challenge of getting the motor to fit here. So the cabinet is wide enough and deep enough for the motor, but the junction box is on the bottom of this motor. And so there were some bracing pieces that go from side to side that hook to this angled bracket for the motor, and the junction box bumped those. So I had to use the angle grinder to grind away some of that, and it's still sturdy enough and strong enough to hold everything together, but that was a bit of a challenge. I've got the dust chute connected from the base of the sanding disc table all the way out to here, where you could put like a shop vac hose here, and then also it's right up next to the dust port for the sanding belt. So you've got 3 knobs up here with this sanding belt, so I'll just explain a little bit with these. So this knob here adjusts the overall height of this upper drum assembly. So when you're taking this on or off, you'll obviously twist this to lower this upper drum to then be able to get the belt off. This one here angles the drum up and down for tracking and also for getting it off, right? So when you have it lowered down and you have this one turned, then you can more easily get the belt on and off, and then this is your main tracking knob. And then when you get it tracked where you want it, you tighten this knob down and then it holds its position. Every time I turn a machine on this like this on, I quickly look at the belt to see if it's tracking properly. It may, the temperatures may be different from last time. Something may have got bumped in between your last time using it or not. So whenever you turn a belt sander on, I think it's wise to just quickly look up at the belt and see if it's tracking. And if not, be ready to adjust with the tracking knob. So I'd say all in all, starting with a machine that was missing a ton of stuff, we ended up in pretty good shape.
Well, so there you have it. Another machine all done, ready to go. Delta-Rockwell belt and disc combo sander. This one was a challenge, as I said, but at the end, it's definitely worth it. And if I can do it, you can do it.
Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to share, subscribe, and like on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. If there's anything else I can do, let me know. Because if I can do it, you can do it.